If you only got to pick 3 RuneScape regions, which regions would you pick? Which combination of those 3 regions would give you the best chances of success? Well, that's what I'm covering today. At the start of Leagues 4, we'll be given a choice of one of 3 relics. This could hint at a return to the original Trailblazer style, giving us relics that cater typically to just one combat type. Locking in just one combat style for a whole 2-month temporary game mode can be a little bit overwhelming. So let's go through each combat style and what their best regional unlocks are, as well as covering some region combinations that you'll definitely want to consider if you want to have the best possible success in Leagues. And let's start with the range skill. Given that we have the option of Karen this league, the Twisted Bow is an absolute no-brainer. This is because its passive effect just slaps on some extra damage and accuracy based off of the monster's magic level. The Twisted Bow has been recorded to hit as high as 90 outside of the chambers. In addition to the Twisted Bow, Karen has the Dragon Hunter crossbow. The Dragon Bane passive effect gives it a bonus against dragons, and seeing as they're quite a popular feature in RuneScape, this can definitely outperform the Twisted Bow in certain situations. Picking Karen is a great choice for a lot of other reasons, but you'll have to watch my area guide for a full video on that. Another incredible region for ranged is Taranwin. The Toxic Blowpipe has been a fan favorite in Leagues for years, with relics that can turn the blowpipe into a literal machine gun.
Holy shit. This is crazy.
It's worth noting that the blowpipe has been nerfed since the last Trailblazer League, but still performs great against a lot of targets with lower defense. Also in Taranwin is the bow of... yeah, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. The Bofa. This is an incredibly reliable weapon across most PVM content, especially when paired with the Crystal Armor set for its damage and accuracy boosting passive. A special mention to the Dark Bow here, because although it doesn't compete with the other 2 options for DPS, the relics make special attack weapons incredible, and you can have so much fun with this special attack. Let's talk about Asgarnia, because the God Wars dungeon offers up everything you need for a strong ranged build. Full Armadil from Kriara and the Armadil crossbow from Ziliana, but let's one-up that. Nex is going to allow you to upgrade that crossbow to a Zarite crossbow. And not only does this thing hit like a truck thanks to its passive, but its special attack guarantees to proc the special effect of any bolts you're using. Kandarin will give you the opportunity to get Ballista, and the Heavy Ballista in particular can be a lot of fun when you speed it up a little bit. The best in slot range necklace will also require Kandarin to be unlocked as well. The desert can offer you the Missouri set. Bear in mind it does require broken down pieces of Armadil to fully enhance. The only other benefit of picking the desert for ranged is if you're planning on pursuing a blowpipe build, because the Tourist Trap quest does enable you to smith your own dart tips. This isn't even necessary as there are plenty of other dart tip sources from PVM drops. The last big region that I'll mention is Fremennik. Here you can get the Venator bow. Players are starting to find where this kit shines best, and given that relics accelerate both the damage and accuracy of most combat styles, you can argue that this might become an absolute powerhouse. And of course, the Archer's Ring is a nice boost to any range build. So we've covered the biggest range weapons and their regions, but which ones should you pick? My honest advice is to pursue the content that you enjoy most, because that way you're less likely to burn out. But if you can't decide, here are some of my recommendations. Zeya, Asgarnia, and Taranwin. All of the biggest hitters for plenty of ranged weapon choices and PVM challenges. Karen, Taranwin, and Fremennik for your Dragonbane weapons, Vorkath, Raids 1, and Zulrah to push your gear to its limit. Desert, Taranwin plus Karen for access to the Bofa, Blowpipe with full dart functionality, plus Raids 1 and 3 as endgame content. Asgarnia, the Desert, and Taranwin. This combo is for those seeking the heavy-hitting full Missouri, paired with Taranwin for blowpipe functionality, and of course, pursuing a late-game Zarite crossbow. And this one's for those of you wanting to pick a utility region like Kandarin. Pair that with Asgarnia and Taranwin for the best in slot jewelry from Kandarin, a ballista focus build, but with the option to diversify into either the Crystal Armor set and the Bofa in Taranwin, or Armadil and Zerosian equipment from the God Wars. Moving on to Mage now, and let's start with Mauritania, Barrows is going to get you access to a very early Arim set. And not only will these robes set you up for the whole league, but the staff is actually very capable. The Sanguinesti staff is a drop from the Theatre of Blood, and it has a built-in healing passive, making it ideal across plenty of PvM activity. Now I'd argue this is possibly the best staff in leagues. But there's also the Nightmare staff. The harmonized version could previously attain an attack speed of 3 in Trailblazer. That's as fast as throwing knives. Kandarin is also worth a mention, as you'll be able to get your hands on both the Warped Scepter and Trident of the Seas. The jewelry you can get in Kandarin will also boost your magic damage by a ridiculous 15%. Next, let's talk about the desert. Here, you can snag the Infinity set, Mage's Book, and of course the Master Wand from the Mage Training Arena. The Elidinous Ward can boost your magic damage further by 5%, and the Tumican Shadow. It's the strongest magic weapon, worth just as much as the Twisted Bow, for a reason. If you're planning on picking the Wilderness, then good news, because there are some big mage items here. The Elder Chaos Druid robes, Dagonhai set, and the Accursed Scepter, which can auto-cast ancient magics as well as having a really powerful built-in spell. The Imbued God Capes here also boost your magic damage by that little bit more. And the last big magic region is of course Kourend. The Ancestral robes obtained in the Chambers of Xeric is still the best in slot magic robes, and if you decide to pick the desert, you'll also be able to upgrade your Master Wand to a Kodai Wand. A special mention to the Virtus Robe set. This can be obtained from any of the Desert Treasure 2 bosses.
Here's what all of that looks like in summary.
Let's talk about region combinations if you want to pursue a magic-focused build. Zeya, the Desert, and Mauritania. Picking these 3 regions will not only get you all of the biggest magic weapons and gear, but you'll also have all 3 of Old School's raids to test them out on. It feels almost too good to be true. Pairing Kandarin and Taranwin with any other region gives you the best in slot magic jewelry, as well as the Trident of the Seas and the opportunity to upgrade that to a Trident of the Swamp. The Wilderness, paired with Kandarin and the Desert, will give you a huge 22% magic damage boost, and plenty of PvM content to test it out on. Combining Kandarin, the Desert, and Kourend will give you the highest possible magic damage boost. And it depends which max setup you go for, but both of them are big magic numbers. And lastly, let's talk about melee. Due to the various attack styles there are for melee, there is so much choice for region picking. Kandarin offers us the Humble Dragon Scimitar, and honestly, don't turn your nose up at it. With the help of the relics, you can get through almost any PvM situation. Kandarin only really offers both the Fighter Torso and the Amulet of Torture, which both give you a nice strength boost. To get access to Piety though, you'll have to pair this with Asgarnia, which we'll talk about now. There's an argument here that Asgarnia is the strongest melee region. You can get your defenders here, and the opportunity to get a variety of god swords gives you so much flexibility. These can essentially break the game even further. Think 5 Bandos god sword special attacks in a row. The Saradomin sword's magic special attack hits like a truck. The Zamarakian Hasta, good for both stab and crush. And we can't forget about the armor. Bandos gear is really strong in its own right, but it can also be upgraded to Torva through Nex. The Dragon Boots plus Primordial Crystal are also both obtainable just within Asgarnia. If you're planning on picking the desert, then there's only a couple notable drops. The Keris Partisan and jewels from the Tombs of Amaska can make for some truly broken runs. And of course, if you're lucky, you'll also get the Osmunten's Fang as a drop from here. Mauritania, another really strong region. You've got Barrows for some reliable tank gear, and the Theatre of Blood can drop the Garazi Rapier and Scythe of Vita. If we see a return of the Absolute Unit relic, there's a fun little interaction with the Justicia armor set, because you can just sit back, AFK, and just let the mobs. The Inquisitor's set from the Nightmare offers absurd strength bonuses, in addition to the best in slot crush weapon, and let's not forget about the blood shards for healing with melee hits here. Boosting that damage just a little bit more in certain situations is the Black Mask or Slayer helmet and the Salve amulet. If you're feeling a little bit spicy, then these other regions can give you a niche melee build. To Ranwin, because although it's a more ranged focus region, a full set of crystal armor paired with a blade of Saildor can be incredibly effective against anything weak to slash. And the Serpentine Visage boasting some strength and defensive bonuses. Korend gives you the Sarachnis Cudgel as a good entry level crush weapon and some of the most useful special attacks in the game. The Dragon Warhammer as a useful defense lowering weapon, and the Dragon Claws for some insane damage. The Fremennik region can get you an early Berserker helmet, Nate's Knot helmet, and the opportunity to upgrade that to a face guard. The Berserker ring also gives you a lovely little strength bonus. And Mistlin is our starting region. It's worth remembering that you can get the whip, dagger, and bludgeon here. Here's a look over some of the best melee unlocks that we've just covered. Feel free to pause, because we're going to talk about some region combinations you might want to consider. Kandarin, Asgarnia, and Mauritania. All the utility that Kandarin and Asgarnia give you, plus piety and all of the best in slot melee gear. Zeya, Mauritania, and the desert for all three raids, while still offering really powerful melee options. The desert, Asgarnia, and Zeya for those wanting to pick the desert while still having access to strong melee options elsewhere. Mauritania, the wilderness, and Asgarnia. And this is for those of you who just want to cheese the game. The Justicia set, paired with the Elysian Spirit Shield and Guardian Boots to top it off. I'm begging that someone actually does this because it would be so much fun to see. And with all three combat styles covered, if you guys had to pick just one to focus on, which one would you pick? If you found this video or any of my other videos useful, please consider supporting me by subscribing. Not only is it totally free, you'll stay up to date with all of the other Leagues videos that I plan to cover building up to the release. Not to mention all my other RuneScape videos. So until next time, see you soon.